brings us closer to you and closer to doing your will. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay. Hare Krishna. Is this better?
Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna. Grateful to be here again. And we continue. Today we'll see 11th, 12th, and 13th days. If we get time, we'll go to the 14th day also. So each day, I'll try to focus on one particular theme. The theme was with Bhishma was about the tension between dharma and bhakti. Broadly speaking, that was the theme. Today we'll focus on the theme of right and wrong action. So when we do action, is the action, somebody does an action, was it right or was it wrong? Now, we could decide it. You're turning this to So now, when we talk about the right or wrong actions, one can be in terms of morality, that it was the immoral thing to do. But the other can simply be in terms of functionality. Functionality means that, say, somebody decides to drive in a car over 100 mile distance. And then, say, that car, nowadays there is the cars which don't run on fuel, electric cars. They need to be recharged regularly. If somebody decides to drive in that car and they go on a road where there are no electric recharging devices, that's a bad decision. But it's not a moral decision. It's a functionally wrong decision. So generally when people work together, one of the biggest things that can actually break relationships is when one person takes a decision that is wrong or that turns out to be wrong, and then the consequences are felt by everyone. The result of that could be that everybody loses trust in that person. So when that happens, how we see that wrong decision is very important. Generally, when suppose it is a wrong decision, we could say that the wrong decision was now how do we decide that the decision is wrong? You remember I talked about intent, content, and consequence. That there are three factors by which we decide what is right and what is wrong. And now when we talk about morality, it is often that we think we may have particular conceptions of morality. Different cultures or different backgrounds may have slightly different conceptions of morality. Now, when there is a group of people together, then generally there is some overarching agreement about morality. Say, if we are in a spiritual community, we understand that meat eating is bad. In other cultures, even religious cultures, that may not be accepted. So there may be some relativity about morality, and that could be a separate topic to discuss. But you cannot have a group of people working together unless there is some sharing of values. Otherwise, you just don't know how that person is going to make a decision. So now when we work in a company, now we may have different values with respect to our personal lives. But when we work in a company, we have a shared value that we want the company to succeed. And the company succeeds, we succeed. So basically, there has to be some shared values based on which people can work together. So when decisions go wrong, sometimes some decisions, the wrong decision is largely situational. Situational means that the situation turns out in a particular way. Like a doctor prescribes a treatment and the treatment has a side effect. It's contraindicated and the patient's condition worsens. Now, sometimes it could be that there is practically no medical research available that this particular medicine has this contraindicating effect. Then the doctor is not culpable, although that the doctor may feel personally, oh, it is so bad this happened. But the doctor is not legally culpable. So that means situational means it's largely in terms of the result. So that means things turn out in a particular way, and it's a, you could say it's a bad. The decision turns out bad in hindsight. Now, at that time, okay, it was a judgment call that was made, and and cricket matches after a team loses a match, everybody becomes an expert. They say, no, they should not have given this team the bat, they should not have given this person to ball or whatever. This was a bad decision. Now sometimes it's situational. Now sometimes it is a decision which is reflective not so much of the complexity of the situation, the uncertainty of the result, but it is reflective more of the lack of ability of the person. So it is, you could say, it is more of a personal incompetence. Now, incompetence is that maybe that person is not cool-headed, maybe that the person is not far-sighted enough, that person is not a good leader. The good down happens when we start thinking that that person is ill-motivated. That person is, so one is the things turned out to be bad. The second was it was a bad judgment call. The third is the person itself is bad. This is ill-motivated. Maybe they wanted to sabotage this for some personal gains. So this causes the worst breakdowns. So where, say, a couple is, a husband and wife are parenting. Now each person, one person may want to be a little more lenient and one person may want to be a little more strict. Now how do you decide which is right? There is no manual for parenting in one sense. Now each child is also different. Some children may need a little more space, some children may need a little more structure. So it depends. But both parents trust each other. That they want the best for the child. But sometimes some decisions turn out to be right, sometimes some decisions turn out to be wrong, and the child is given too much space, and the child does something which is bad, and the child is given too little space, and the child feels suffocated, and the child becomes very cold. So these are all, it's not a moral decision. It's a decision where we could say that both people are having the same motivation, the motives, but functionally life is complicated. So when a situational decision means, if this thing is a little complex, as we move forward it will become clearer. My point is that when some decision turns out to be wrong, it's very easy to blame someone for that decision and then we go away from that person. But to avoid that, how do we look at that situation is very important. So broadly, you could say that it is, you could say, the result, something can be bad, one comes only in the result. Sometimes it can be bad in terms of the ability of the person to make a decision. And sometimes it can be bad in terms of the mentality of the person itself. So if the mentality itself is bad, then it's very difficult to trust the person. So, what can mar is damage a relationship. That depends on how we see something. Like the doctor made a judgment call. The doctor didn't know about the side effects, and nobody knew about it. But say the doctor should have known about it, but the doctor didn't pay attention at that particular time. So that is a question of ability. Doctor should have paid attention, or doctor was distracted and didn't think about it. Whatever. Doctor didn't read through the past case history properly. So it's a question of ability. Then you say, maybe this is not a bad person, but not a good doctor. Isn't it? But sometimes the doctors try to complicate the patient's condition so that they can have a lifelong patient. They may say, you do 100 tests, then 2 tests will suffice. So that is where mentality is the problem. So now, why are we talking about this? This is because in this series, something like this happens. After Bhishma falls, and Bhishma makes a failed appeal to Duryodhana to settle, but the question comes up, who will be the next commander? Immediately, Duryodhana goes to Karna, and he wants Karna to be the next commander. Now Karna he appreciates the honor, but to his credit, he recognizes that his becoming the commander would create rifts in the army. He says that most of the warriors who are fighting on your side are students of Drona, and they do not see me as a Kshatriya because of my birth. So your making me the commander will be seen as disrespectful to Drona, and because he is their guru, they will all not fight wholeheartedly for him. It is best that you offer the honor to Drona. So we'll talk about Karna's character later. But now everybody knows that Duryodhana and Karna are very close to each other, and Drona is also expecting that Karna will become the commander. And a part of him resents that he will have to obey the command of Drona or command of Karna. So when Duryodhana comes and offers him, please guide my army, please lead me to victory, please become my commander. So Drona is pleased, he is relieved and pleased. He said, I am honored by this, and ask me for some favor. I would like to grant you a boon for having given me this honor. And Duryodhana is waiting for this opportunity. And he says, I want that you arrest Yudhishthira alive and bring him to me. Drona's eyes open wide. He says, Yudhishthira is such a Ajata Shatru, is such a non-inimical person that even you do not want me to kill him, but to bring him alive. So Duryodhana says that actually after seeing the last 10 days and seeing the prowess of Arjuna and Bhima, I have concluded that in these conditions it is very unlikely that we can defeat them. If you succeed in killing Yudhishthira, Arjuna and Bhima will go mad and they will destroy my entire army. My plan is, if you arrest Yudhishthira and bring him to me, I will challenge him to another gambling match. And I will send him to forest for another 13 years while we consolidate our forces again. Drona starts shaking his head. This prince will never learn. Then Drona says that, I can do that, but you have to do one thing for me. He said, although Arjuna is my student, but he has learned everything that I have taught him. And thus, he has become my equal. And on top of that, he is younger than me, and he has performed many austerities in the forest to gain celestial weapons. So, if Arjuna blocks me, then I will not be able to fulfill this vow. So, Duryodhana says, don't worry. He says, I will sidetrack Arjuna. And he goes to Susharman. Susharman is the leader of the Samspatkas. And this is a clan which has had a long rivalry with Arjuna and the Pandavas for various historical reasons. And he says, Susharman, he says, now this is your opportunity to shine. He says, challenge Arjuna and sidetrack. So, that is what, right at the start of the day, that's what Arjuna is subjected to. Now, one of the codes of war is that while it's a general war going on, one general fights with another general. And sometimes these plans happen by strategy, but sometimes a particular general is challenged. And then they start fighting with each other. So when Arjuna is challenged by Susharman, then he goes in that direction. and Drona attacks and attacks relentlessly. Now again, both sides have their spies, so they do come to know Pandavas what has been planned, and then they make a plan that Yudhishthira should be defended. Now Drona fights furiously. See, while Drona has been fighting formidably throughout, he has been under the shadow of Bhishma. When Bhishma was there, his presence was the dominant presence on the battlefield. But now Drona comes into his own. Drona fights like never before, and although the Pandavas have made plans to try to stop it, Drona, his speech is just unstoppable. And he comes so close that on the 11th day, he's almost near to arrest Yudhishthira. All the Pandavas' defensive arrangements break apart. But Arjuna also knows what is going on. And Arjuna uses celestial weapons at the last moment, and he just stuns the Susharman's forces and rushes to the rescue of Yudhishthira. And he's stopped. Drona is thwarted. On the second day, Drona tries the same thing, and this time he comes much closer. He destroys Yudhishthira's chariot, he kills his chariot here. He destroys Yudhishthira's armor. And within a few minutes, he would swoop in and he would arrest Yudhishthira. But again, Arjuna comes, blazing in the nick of time. And in this particular incident, what happens is, not only does Arjuna rescue Yudhishthira, save Yudhishthira, but this becomes like a disgrace for Drona. And he's so close. Sometimes you say you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, and sometimes you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But on the verge of winning, and in cricket, you have some teams just have to be jokers. Jokers is that at the last moment they just malfunction, just freeze and choke, and defeat is itself bad, but defeat when you're so close to victory is humiliating. So the second day's loss is especially mortifying and humiliating for Drona. And Duryodhana unloads on Drona. Just the way he was earlier doing to Bhishma, he says, "You have promised me, and why is it that you are not fulfilling your promise? I cannot believe that you are unable to defeat Arjuna. It is only because you are affectionate to him that you are not fighting wholeheartedly. Please don't let your personal affection become the cause of the destruction of my entire army. I am devoting my forces for your victory, for you to fulfill your plan. Please don't let it go to destruction." And again, the same punching words or pinching words, piercing words. Now, if your heart is not in the fight, please step down and let Karna become the commander. Like Bhishma before, Drona also feels the dagger of Duryodhana's words. Now, there is, however, a difference between the two. That, both of them are extraordinary characters and both of them are extremely competent in war, Bhishma is also a devotee. He is a Vaishnava. He is devoted to Krishna. Drona is not especially known for his devotion. He was a Brahmana. He was a Brahmana who was especially trained in martial arts. So, he succumbs much more to the pressure of Duryodhana than does Bhishma. Now, in one sense, Bhishma has devotional anticipation over there. So, but in the case of Drona, the way he succumbs takes this whole war on a downward trajectory. So, in the next day, he says that, tomorrow we will form the Chakravyuha and we will trap Yudhishthira. If you can keep Arjuna away, then Yudhishthira will be trapped. So, now they decide to keep this particular information top secret. And the next day when the war starts, the initial appearance is not that they have formed the Chakravyuha. Their front line seems to be like a normal military formation. And again, Arjuna is challenged. Arjuna goes to the sidelines. On the sidelines, he is still fighting fiercely. And he is wearing down Susharman's forces. Susharman has a huge army and he is also not an ordinary warrior. No match to Arjuna. But Arjuna is hoping that one of the days he will just finish off Susharman's army and that itself will be a significant victory for him. But after Arjuna has gone on the sidelines of the main war, then quickly they reform their military and then it's revealed that they have formed the Chakravyuha. The Pandavas immediately regroup. What do we do about this? They know that the only person apart from Arjuna who knows how to break the Chakravyuha is Abhimanyu. So they call Abhimanyu to Yudhishthira and Bhima especially. They tell him, now is the time for you to show your heroism. Just break into the Chakravyuha and save our army. Now, Yudhishthira himself is conflicted about this plan. Because Abhimanyu is young, and although Abhimanyu, there is always the risk of death and injury in the war. But there are some missions that are far more dangerous than others. Normally, when two warriors are fighting, if one of them gets injured, they can retreat or somebody else can come to their rescue. But in this case, this is a high stakes mission. So, Abhimanyu is also apprehensive. He says, I will do whatever you say. At the same time, I need to inform you that I do not know how to come out of the Chakravyuha. Once I go in, I will be trapped. Bhima says, yes, we have thought about this. Our plan is, if you just break the Chakravyuha, then we will follow you inside. And this particular military formation is indestructible from outside, but it is vulnerable from inside. From inside, we will destroy it. And Abhimanyu nods his head. It is a reasonable plan. And he marches forward. And the Pandavas follow closely, except for Arjuna. And then he challenges Drona is there at the main defensive formation. He challenges Drona and then he attacks Drona and his attack is so ferocious. Even Drona is stunned and he then dodges Drona's counter-attack and races to what he knows is a vulnerable point. And then he breaks the Chakravyuha and he marches. See, breaking the Chakravyuha means what basically? That there are soldiers in fierce formation and they are told that you just, no matter what happens, you just hold your ground. And there's one set of soldiers, second set of soldiers, third set of soldiers, fourth set of soldiers, they are in our way. The first fall, the second is there, third is there, fourth is there. And they are all told to hold their ground. And the formation is such that there are powerful generals who will support the soldiers over there. So now there are certain vulnerable points which Abhimanyu attacks. And when he attacks, the attack is so ferocious that while the warriors, even the ordinary soldiers, have a certain level of heroism, nobody wants to go into certain death. So what happens when they see the first line, second line, third line, all of them are just falling one after another. So the soldiers in panic flee. And that's how the Chakravyuha opens. And when the Chakravyuha opens, Abhimanyu races in. And the Pandavas are following. And now because Abhimanyu's attack is so ferocious that no ordinary soldiers will come in to block the Chakravyuha. And the warriors who are there, they have been stunned they have been injured or at least temporarily stopped by the sheer force of the attack. The Pandavas' plan seems to be working. And they are about to go in. But then suddenly, Jayadratha comes in. Now, till now, Jayadratha is one of the warriors, but he is not known to be a particularly significant warrior. In fact, when the two forces are assessed at the start of the Bhagavad Gita, as is described in the first chapter, there is no mention of Jayadratha, neither by Duryodhana initially when he described the two forces, nor later when the conches are blown and who are all blowing conches is mentioned. Now it's interesting that although there is no mention here, in the Virat Rupadarshi, Krishna mentioned that Bhishmam cha Dronam cha Jayadratham cha. That all these warriors, their death is arranged by me. So that's a significant point over there. But here, Jayadratha is not a formidable threat. And everybody is surprised, shocked that Jayadratha is ready to stand up. Everybody is courting death. But Jayadratha has a history with the Pandavas. When, although he was a relative of the Pandavas, he was, I think, the brother of Duryodhana's wife. Sorry? Dushila's husband, yeah. So he had a relationship with the Pandavas, but once when they were going through the forest, he was going through the forest from one kingdom to another, he happened to pass by the area where the Pandavas were living. And there was Draupadi nearby. She was collecting some flowers for their fire sacrifice. And seeing her beauty, he becomes captivated. And he approaches her, accosts her, and then abducts her. Although he knows that she is married, he knows that she is married to the Pandavas, that the Pandavas are powerful and they are all related to her. He still abducts her. And then the Pandavas race to the point and they defeat him, they arrest him. Bhima wants to kill him right away. But Arjuna and Bhima go there. So Arjuna says, let's go to Yudhishthira, let's see what he has to decide. And now this is a serious crime. The Atatainas, the different kinds of aggressors. And one of them is somebody who abducts a woman. So then they want to kill him. They could be justified. Yudhishthira says that no, he is our relative ultimately. So he warns him and lets him go. And now they don't want to just let him go. So one of the ways that they want to make sure that he learns the lesson and remembers the lesson is that they shave off his hair. So it's a sign of humiliating somebody. But more than humiliation, it's a sign that he has been defeated and that he accepts that he is subordinate to the Kauravas. To the Pandavas in this case. In some places in the Bhagavatam, when the Pandavas are referred to as Kauravas because they are the Kuru dynasty only. But now, instead of accepting that he did something wrong, he feels that he has been wronged. And he was humiliated like this. And he performs severe austerities to please Lord Shiva. And he says that I want to kill the Pandavas. Lord Shiva appears and he says, Arjuna is protected by Krishna himself and all the Pandavas are protected by Krishna. He said, I cannot give you this benediction. He says, but no, I worshipped you. I did austerity, you have appeared. Will your darshan go in vain for me? He says, I can grant you one benediction. Can all of you hear me? So, this distance is better than. So, apart from Arjuna, all the other Pandavas, you will be able to hold back and defeat once. Now, he has not told anyone about this particular boon. And this is the boon that he deploys. And Bhima and Yudhishthira and Satyaki and Dhritarashtra, all of them are attacking. But Jayadratha seems to hold everyone back. Everybody is stunned. The Kaurava forces start cheering. The Pandava forces start panicking. Bhima attacks as furiously as he can. But Bhima is much better with a mace than with bow and arrow. Now, he's shooting with bows and arrows. And he charges towards Jayadratha. But even before he can reach Jayadratha, Jayadratha's attack, in this case, is so fast and furious that even Bhima is checked. And as the Pandavas watch in increasing horror, the soldiers regroup and the Chakravyuha process. and Abhimanyu is trapped inside. Now, Abhimanyu has been fighting so furiously that he doesn't even notice what is happening. He has no time. He's inside the enemy ranks. He's just fighting his enemies. He doesn't even notice that nobody's following him. He's far into the enemy ranks, attacking and destroying whoever challenges him before he realizes that he has been trapped. He fights like never before. And everyone in the Kaurava ranks is defeated. When Drona is defeated, Karna is defeated, Duryodhana is defeated, Dushasana is defeated, Ashwatthama is defeated. No one can face Arjuna. Sorry, Abhimanyu. Arjuna's son Abhimanyu. And Karna tries twice. And for him, Karna feels his destiny is to defeat Arjuna. And it's especially humiliating that he can't even defeat Arjuna's son. So, he finally goes to Duryodhana and he says, Duryodhana says, our army is being destroyed by Subhadra's son. What are you going to do? So Arjuna and Karna says that I tried my best. He seems too good. He says there's only one person. He says, you have to approach Drona. He is your commander. He will surely have some trick up his sleeve. See, Karna is an excellent archer. He's one of the top archers. But he has never been a leader of a huge army. Where different tricks could be used. So he said, you have to ask Drona. Now in some narratives, it is Shakuni who comes up with the idea. But in the main version of the Mahabharata that we have, this is one of the dark days in Drona's life, where what he does. So he comes, so Duryodhana and Karna both go to Drona. And he says, our army is being, now Drona is watching, Drona has also been repulsed in here. He says, and Drona tells Duryodhana, can you see how skilled Arjuna's son is? Duryodhana is incensed. You are going to defend my army, not admire my enemy. And said Drona is appreciating that not only has Arjuna become such a great student, Arjuna has become such a great teacher that he has trained Abhimanyu. And so we all have multiple roles. So there is Drona as the commander and there is Drona as the teacher. So Drona as the teacher cannot just, any teacher marvels when they see a good student. Sometimes if somebody is a teacher and they are also debating with someone, they will be a debater, they want to defeat the opposite side. But the opposite side is brilliant. As a teacher, you will appreciate that. He's such an intelligent person, such a good debater. So there is that part of Drona as a teacher, just appreciates. And that part infuriates Duryodhana. So he says, what are you going to do about this? So Drona becomes pensive and he says, none of us alone will be able to defeat Arjuna's son. There is, however, one way. Drona himself hesitates, he says, but he feels that he is the commander and it is his duty to protect his army, whatever happens. And this is where Duryodhana's bad association, it starts affecting Drona also. Not in the same way that it affects Karna, we'll talk about that, but Duryodhana's relentless pressuring. Because what happens is when we take something from someone, there are certain expectations that come with it. So when he takes the role of the commander, the expectation is that he should lead the army to victory or at least prevent the army from being destroyed. Which is true, but we have certain goals and the difference between the virtuous people and the vicious people. In one way is is, see, in one sense, if you can say, the Devatas and the Asuras. It is not that the Devatas are pure devotees. The Devatas also have materialistic support. Devatas also want Aishwarya, Devatas also have Apsaras. The Devatas and Asuras, both, you can say to some extent, are materialistic. But the difference is that the Asuras, the Devatas live within boundaries. Where the Asuras, they have no boundaries. Now, of course, the Devatas will sometimes violate boundaries, some boundaries, but in general, a person's character can be known both by what goals they are pursuing and to what extent are they ready to go to pursue this. Okay, everybody wants to be successful. We want to be successful in our companies, we want to be successful in our society, wherever it is. So, every cricket team wants to be successful. But how far do you go? You can play mind games, you can do certain things to try to intimidate or distract the opponents. That's a part of cleverness. That's just part of the game. But suppose somebody, one team tries to arrange so that the food of the other team is poisoned. And then everybody is sick and nobody can play. And this team just gets a walkout. Now that is going too far. So there are boundaries which everybody. This is a line. This is where I draw a line. I'm not going further. I want further. I want to succeed, but I won't go any further than this. And there's office politics. Sometimes you network with this people and you network with that person so that you rise up. And then sometimes you speak something about somebody in a negative way. All those things happen. But no matter what we do, in office politics, we don't bring a person's family. We won't spread rumors about their family. So there are boundaries. So sometimes the person's character is seen by what are their boundaries. See, we all can be good in our good moments. But in bad moments, we will become to some extent bad. We get angry, we may yell. But even in our worst moments, there are some boundaries that we may not cross. Even when we get angry, we may yell at someone. But while yelling, we may not use foul words. We may not use swear words. We may not use cuss words. So basically, that's one boundary. Or no matter how much angry we get, we don't hit someone. So there are certain boundaries we don't cross. But unfortunately, what happens in the person's character is a bit questionable. Then their boundaries become very malleable. Their boundaries become very stretchable. This is what happens to Drona over here. And Drona says, let 6 warriors attack him together. And then those 6 warriors attack him. And Abhimanyu fights heroically. But all along he's been fighting against one warrior and he's been defeating all of them. But the 6 of them come together and one destroys his chariot here, another destroys his chariot, another cuts off with a string of his bow. So another destroys his armor. And he's just helpless. And he gets off his chariot and he takes a mace and starts fighting. And he picks up a wheel and starts fighting. And just with the wheel he starts whirling around and hitting soldiers around him. But then his bowstring is broken, he's run out of spare bows that he has. And the wheel is broken by arrow attacks. And then finally, Dushasan's son challenges him in a mace fight. Both of them fight and fight. And finally, sometimes 2 warriors can dodge each other's blows, 2 warriors can counter each other's blows, but here, both of them in a swinging motion hit each other. And both of them fall on the ground because of the impact of the blow. Now, this blow is severe, but neither of them is completely injured. They are severely hit. But because Abhimanyu has been fighting for so long all alone, he's become exhausted. His reflexes have become slowed down. So when he is getting up, Dushasan's son gets up and picks up his mace and smashes Abhimanyu's head. And Abhimanyu dies at that particular time. And the Kauravas celebrate. There is very little to celebrate actually, because it's an act of cowardice. But at least they have defeated Abhimanyu. And when they celebrate, At this particular point, Yudhishthir has had a growing sense of dread inside him. He knew what was likely to happen when the Chakravyuha was closed. And finally, when he hears the celebrations, his worst fear has come true. And now, not only is he distressed that Abhimanyu is being killed, he's thinking, how am I going to tell this to Arjuna? Abhimanyu has fought nearly throughout the day, and the Pandavas go back to their court. Arjuna has fought a long, hard day. He expects that one more day and Susharman's army would be over. He's coming back, but as he's coming back, he feels some kind of weird sensation. Something bad has happened, something inauspicious. And then when he comes back, normally when the warriors would come back, there would be celebratory music to welcome them all back, to lift up their spirits. On that day, he sees that their camp is filled with a somber silence. Normally, the soldiers would greet him and salute him. Today, nobody is ready to meet his eyes. The pit in his stomach becomes bigger and bigger. In the heat of the fight, he remembers that somebody was screaming. The Kauravas have formed a Chakravyuha. He had been so busy fighting that sound had not registered in him at that time. He had thought that if there is some crisis, like in the previous day, he would be informed, he would be called. But nothing had happened on this particular day. And finally, he started thinking, the Chakravyuha has been formed, and the only person who could have saved our army was Abhimanyu. But he knew Abhimanyu could not come out. Has something happened to Abhimanyu? He tells Krishna to take a chariot faster. And then he jumps off the chariot and charges into the tent where they would meet every evening to strategize for the next day. And as soon as he enters, his eyes go straight to the throne where Abhimanyu would sit. And that throne is empty. Arjuna almost collapses, but he tries to hold himself together and he doesn't want to believe the evidence of his eyes. He looks towards Yudhishthir, and Yudhishthir's head is drooping. He's the picture of dejection, and tears streaming down his eyes. No words need to be spoken. Arjuna understands what has happened, and he collapses. Crumbles on the ground, crying out, Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu, Abhimanyu. He feels the pain not just because of the death of his son. He blames himself. And I went in the pursuit of individual glory. I went to destroy the army of the Susharman. And my son would have been dying. He would have called for me at that time. And I was not there for him. Yudhishthira comes forward with heavy leaden steps and tells Arjuna what has happened. Arjuna hears while still crying out. And then he's so angry, so hurt. He just has to lash out at somebody. He looks at Yudhishthira and he says, are all your weapons just ornaments? Could not one of you protect my son? That time Krishna comes up. All this time Krishna has been silent. Krishna comes up and pulls Arjuna into a side hug. And Krishna says, O Partha, in this world bad things happen to everyone. The wise people and the unwise people. The difference is that when bad things happen, the unwise act in ways that make things worse. Whereas the wise act in ways that make things better. He says, Oh Arjuna, look at the faces of your brothers. They are in pain due to the death of Abhimanyu just as you are. Please, O Arjuna, do not speak words that increase their pain. So here, Krishna does not go into philosophy. He says, just 13 days ago I told you, Dehinosmin Thade, Kaumara, Dhira Satrana Muyati. You are so dumb, you forgot it already. Maybe I should have chosen someone else to speak the Bhagavad Gita. No. See, there is a time to speak philosophy, and there is a time to be supportive of a person. A philosophy can support a person. So Krishna takes a pragmatic approach over it. Yes, this has happened now, and human emotions are natural. Now we may understand that a person is a soul and we are souls, but we are bonded together in a relationship right now. And in that relationship we have a responsibility. And generally when there is responsibility, there is an investment of emotion over there. So to just dismiss all emotional attachment is appallingly inhuman, basically. It is natural that there will be griefs. Arjuna laments for quite some time. And that's described in the Mahabharata. Now Arjuna is processing. And then as he's thinking, Krishna's words, he's reflecting on them, he's reflecting on the events. And so yesterday we said, how the cause and the cure. That sometimes when something bad thing happens, we try to understand the cause and we try to understand the cure. So now, in general when we act, we have to, the cause of something can be at multiple levels. So we have to find out, say if something has happened. So, if I am feeling cold, right? It could be the fan above me is on. That's why I am feeling cold. It could be that I am not wearing warm clothes. It could be that I am not suited for this climate. My body is not accustomed to this climate. It could be that the place actually is very cold. So there could be many causes for what has happened. And intelligence means we have to look at some actionable cause so that we can address it. So basically, anything that happens. Now, like I said yesterday, when some guest comes to our house and we tell them that they say, I'm feeling cold. We say, what to do? This world is dukkha. What happened here? Discharged? Can you hear me still?
Yes. 1 second. We are working on an actionable cause. Can you check this work?
So there are causes at multiple levels. So we could say, why are you feeling cold? Because of climate change. Well, maybe there is a time when we go to a particular level of cause. So if somebody is going through some suffering, is it because of past karma? Maybe that's one cause, but that's not the actionable cause. So when we are dealing with we focus on an actionable cause. Now, of course, what may be actionable, different people may have different ideas of what is actionable. But then we have to arrive at some consensus. So as Arjuna is hearing this, is processing it, he realizes that once that Yudhishthira is feeling guilty. He says, no, there is one incident that comes before this that also reveals Yudhishthira's character. Yudhishthira, the Abhimanyu's death doesn't happen right at the end of the day, slightly before the end of the day. Yudhishthira becomes so frenzied with grief. He thinks that I am as a king meant to be protecting everyone. But for the sake of my protection, I send Abhimanyu, my 16-year-old nephew, who is just like my son, into the jaws of death. He says, fire on me. And he says, I will charge into the enemy rank. And I will avenge Abhimanyu's death, or I will die while trying to do so. He says, I cannot face Arjuna after what I have done. So he starts charging forward. And Yudhishthira is such a mood, that while Yudhishthira is very dharmic, if he makes a particular decision, nobody can deter him. Even Bhima can't stop him. As he's charging towards the Kaurava camp all alone. Suddenly Vyasdev appears over there. And seeing Vyasdev, Yudhishthira still has the culture. He folds his hand and offers obeisances, gets off the chariot. And he tells Vyasdev, pours out his heart. Subhadra's son has been killed and we are distraught. And I feel I am responsible for this. So Vyasdev speaks something similar. O king, calamities fall on everyone, even on virtuous people. Don't lose your sense of purpose. He said that I foresee a victory for you in a short while. In a few days, you will be enthroned as the king. That itself is an elaborate incident. But the point I'm making over here, I'm not going to specifically into what Vyasdev speaks, but the point is Yudhishthira himself is feeling guilty. And that's one sign of a person who is a very conscientious or responsible person. Whenever anything goes wrong, some people just want to shirk responsibility and blame others. And some people take blame on themselves even when it is not their blame. It is not due to their mistake. So now Arjuna is thinking, and that's why, because Yudhishthira is already feeling vulnerable, Arjuna's words hurt him even more. But Arjuna is thinking, and he says, they had made it was a decent strategy. The strategy was that Abhimanyu would break the Chakravyuha and they would all follow him inside. And he said it was Jayadratha who was mean-spirited. He could have used his boon at any time, but he used his boon at this particular time, and he was the cause of the death of Abhimanyu. Although the final blow was hit by someone else, he feels that Abhimanyu's fate was sealed the moment Jayadratha blocked the Pandavas. Therefore, he decides that I will get back. I will kill Jayadratha before sunset tomorrow. And he says, if I do not do so, I will myself enter fire and end my life. The mood on the Pandava side has been very one of gloom. But when Arjuna takes this vow, suddenly the whole mood becomes almost celebratory. They know if Arjuna takes a vow like this, it is going to be a great day for them the next day. It's happening on the 13th day. And now Duryodhana is congratulating Drona and congratulating he's telling Drona, tomorrow you form Chakravyuha again. Tomorrow probably you will trap Yudhishthira. And suddenly they hear sound of celebration. They say, they are all blowing conches and they are blowing drums. They say, why are they celebrating? They could be lamenting. And then, now Jayadratha, he has had his moment of glory, but he also knows some kind of retribution is coming. So he has kept his own spies in the cover of Pandavas. And they come running to inform him, and Jayadratha comes running. His face is white like a mask, like snow. He says, that son of Indra, begotten in Kunti, has taken a vow to kill me by tomorrow's sunset. He said, oh Duryodhana, assure me of my protection, otherwise I am fleeing to the Himalayas right now. And then Duryodhana asks, what happened? And he tells that, he's taken a vow. And he tells from the perspective that he has taken a vow to kill me before sunset, otherwise he will enter into fire. So Duryodhana sees an opportunity over here. And he says, oh Jayadratha, do not worry. He says that, tomorrow we will arrange the entire army to protect you. Arjuna will never be able to get to you. Today, we killed Abhimanyu. Tomorrow, Arjuna's own vow will become the cause of his death. We will protect you with the entire army. He turns to Drona. Will we stop her? He basically says, Drona, he looks at it for confirmation. He says, yes. Drona says, I'll arrange the entire army to protect you. But Drona can't resist the temptation. He says, but even if Arjuna reaches you And the Chaitanya started trembling. He says, and even if Arjuna kills you, there is no dishonor for a warrior to die in the battle. There is dishonor for a warrior to flee from war. Chaitanya doesn't want to hear this. And Duryodhana says, no. We will protect you. And now Dronacharya is thinking that it would be impossible for Arjuna to cross over the Kaurava army and reach Jayadratha. But he's thinking that Arjuna is not alone.
Very well.
So he knows Jayadratha's fate is sealed, but still he arranges. Now, going back to our starting discussion, we discussed that how this could have created a big rift between Arjuna and Yudhishthira. So it was Yudhishthira's decision to ultimately send Abhimanyu. And Arjuna could have criticized Yudhishthira. There was passing criticism was there, but that was just circumstantial. So was it an ill-motivated decision? Certainly not. Now, was it a decision that indicated Yudhishthira was incompetent? Not really. It was a reasonable strategy in an emergency. If somebody had known that Jayadratha has this boon, and still they had done this without planning to sideline Jayadratha someday, then it would have been a bad decision. So, now sometimes what happens, we'll talk about this in Ashwatthama's case a little later more, that when somebody makes a decision, if we have a negative view of that person, then we ascribe the most negative cause for that decision. That is how it was because of circumstance, it was because of competence, or it is because of character. Circumstance means just the result turned out bad. Competence, this person not good enough to lead. Character means this person actually doesn't want us to belong. So the more we go backward, the more that leads to the erosion of trust. So although this is a bad decision in one sense, but it turns out bad in terms of the results. So now what do we do? When some result, we discuss this, okay, that sometimes we could have the right action and the right result. We do the right thing and we get the right result by that thing. Now life is so complex that right action can sometimes lead to the wrong result. And sometimes the wrong action can also lead to the right result. That's where, in the history of science, there is a thing called serendipity. Sometimes accidentally you make a good discovery. So the decision is, we didn't plan it that way, but somehow things work out that way. It's like in cricket, a captain doesn't have any bowler. Good bowler, they ask somebody, the part-time bowler, to bowl. And that part-time bowler has such bowling talent nobody knows about. And not only wins the match, but discovers he has big talent over here. So, that if a wrong decision gives a good result, you say, that is a master stroke. No, it was just luck. So sometimes the thing is that life is complicated. And if there is a rush to judgment, this person did this particular action and that reflects this about this person's either capability or character or whatever, then that can be problems. So here, when Arjuna makes this decision, Yudhishthira supports the decision. Now interestingly, Krishna is not very happy with this. Krishna tells Arjuna, initially Krishna also knows his point and supports it publicly. But then later on that night, when they're going back to their tents, so Krishna tells to Arjuna and he says, Krishna, Partha, you took this decision hastily. It will be very difficult for you to reach Jayadratha and kill him. So you should have consulted me before this decision. Arjuna says, I cannot understand your anxiety. He says, you know my power and I know your power. one of the later retellings of the Mahabharata, this is the original Mahabharata. One of the later retellings of the Mahabharata, what has happened is Krishna and Arjuna, they are such close friends, they sleep in the same tent. So Arjuna is sleeping soundly and Krishna is not able to sleep. And sometimes if we are not able to sleep, then we feel annoyed. But if we are not able to sleep because of somebody's actions, that makes us even more annoyed. And that person is sleeping peacefully. So Krishna starts pacing out the tent and he says, "These are my devotees. They sleep and keep me sleepless." So the later retellings, it is said that Krishna, mentally, although he has vowed that he is not going to raise any weapons, but when he came there, he came on his chariot. So Daruka is there, his charioteer is there. So he calls Daruka and tells him, "Keep my chariot ready with all my best weapons." He said, "If Arjuna is not able to reach Jayadratha, then I will jump from Arjuna's chariot to my chariot and I will destroy the entire Kaurava." So the next day, the next day when the Kauravas, the Pandavas begin, they see that the Kauravas army seems to stretch to the horizon. Different military formations are there. So the particular military formation over there is, in this particular case, it's such that the entire army is there. It seems to extend over miles, and at the back of that jet, it can't even be seen by you. So now Arjuna sees that. Arjuna feels, just see how Drona has arranged this, but still I will reach Jayadratha. And then the day's war begins. Arjuna charges and Drona has kept himself right at the front of the military formation. Arjuna and Drona start fighting. Now this day, we'll see that there are so many ways in which Krishna helps Arjuna on various occasions. So as Arjuna and Drona are fighting, the fighting goes on and on and on. And Krishna tells Arjuna that your fight with Drona can go on all day. You do not have time for this. So Arjuna remembers that. And then Arjuna suddenly shoots a flurry of arrows which temporarily stun Drona. And then Krishna takes Arjuna's chariot by the side of Drona while he's stunned and charges ahead. While they're trying, Drona recovers. And Drona says, "Hey Arjuna, where are you going? You've become a coward. Fight and stand and fight with me." But Krishna is charging Arjuna's chariot far ahead of Drona. Drona regroups. Now Arjuna has to break through the Kaurava army to go ahead. But Drona, he's readily allowed to go. So he goes right back. And he also goes and positions himself close to Jayadratha. He knows that I will encounter Arjuna soon enough. Arjuna has to go through literally miles and miles of soldiers. So now there's a warrior named Shrutayush who has been given a mace. And that is a mace given by Varuna. And whoever he smashes, hits with that mace, that person will be killed. So he's fighting with Arjuna. As fighting with Arjuna, he realizes I cannot match Arjuna in fighting with bow and arrow. So he comes with the mace close to Arjuna. Arjuna has been fighting with other warriors, and then Arjuna also picks up a mace. Arjuna also can fight with the mace, although that's not his major thing. So in the heat of the fighting, he has been given that mace. He hits. He's trying to hit Arjuna. He can't hit Arjuna, and he hits Krishna. And when he hits Krishna, now Shrutayush has been given this mace, but he has been warned that he has some lower tendencies. He has been warned that this mace can kill anyone who you hit. But if you hit a non-combatant with it, that mace will turn on you and destroy you. So he does not, in the heat of the moment, he forgets that. And he hits Krishna, and as soon as he hits Krishna, before the mace can hit Krishna, the mace slips from his hand and it turns around and hits him. And his head smashes apart. And the Kauravas lament and Arjuna charges forward. And Arjuna seems to be unstoppable. He's always been formidable, but the death of Abhimanyu has made him into a different person completely. And wherever he goes, the Kaurava forces try to hold him back, and they just can't. And they flee. All the military men they just break and they flee. And then Duryodhana and Drona are watching, and Duryodhana says, Arjuna will destroy my entire army today. He said that. The Pandavas have thought their strategy well. He said they have let Arjuna go straight inside while they have kept. They have engaged all our other warriors at different points. And now they have kept a significant number of forces around Jayadratha. He says, I don't have anyone right now to send to combat Arjuna. I don't want to leave Jayadratha's side. There is only one person. Who is that person? Now, Karna is here, this particular sense, there's only one person. He says, you, Duryodhana. Duryodhana says, I think I might be able to fight with even Indra, but I cannot fight with Indra's son in this mood. So, Duryodhana says, don't worry. He says, I am not. I have a plan. He has a mystical armor. And he says, this armor means that he, no matter how many arrows hit him, those arrows don't wound him. He says, I'll put that armor on you. And you go and fight with Arjuna. And Duryodhana becomes very happy. And he goes there. He says, no arrow will hit him. No arrow will injure him. And he goes forward and Arjuna is breaking through the Kaurava forces. And suddenly Duryodhana comes and challenges him. And the Kaurava soldiers are amazed to see Duryodhana's courage facing Arjuna. And Arjuna and Krishna both are also surprised. It seems not only can we kill Jayadratha, we can end the war today. Now, part of Arjuna knows that Duryodhana, Bhima has taken a vow to kill him. So, he will not be able to kill Duryodhana. But then, they start fighting. And Arjuna is fighting and fighting. And none of his arrows seem to have any effect. And initially the Kaurava soldiers are shocked, but when they see that Duryodhana is unaffected by Arjuna's arrows and Duryodhana is shooting back and holding his ground, they start cheering Duryodhana, and Duryodhana becomes all the more spirited by that. He says, Arjuna, try, is that your best? Try more, and then I will destroy you. Now, Krishna tells Arjuna, are you out of form today? This is not the time to lose touch. How is it that the sun moving fast, you are not able to break through the Duryodhana? So Arjuna starts thinking. Arjuna says, I know what it's given. He says, Drona has given his mystical armor to Duryodhana. Now, in one sense, Drona also, in one sense, wants Arjuna to win. After all, he knows Arjuna's virtuous side. So Arjuna remembers that, see, ultimately there is no immortality in this world. No matter whatever arrangement is there, there is always some weak point somewhere. So, no matter what arrangement is, there is some loophole somewhere. And so Arjuna knows that this whole armor, it protects the entire body except the tip of the fingers. So he carefully points arrows. And Duryodhana is thinking, oh, this armor is invincible. Yes, you try and I'll shoot you. And then Arjuna shoots arrows right into the fingertips of Duryodhana. And Duryodhana drops his bow and starts screaming in pain. And as he's screaming in pain, Arjuna and Krishna nonchalantly just go by his side and go at him. So, this way they keep moving forward. Now, in the meanwhile, Yudhishthira starts being anxious. The previous day, Abhimanyu had gone into the enemy formation and had got trapped. He starts thinking, what if Arjuna gets trapped? Then he looks around, and he says, Satyaki is with him. And he says, Satyaki, you please go. And you assist your teacher. Now, Satyaki is a student of Drona, but Satyaki is also been subsequently trained by Arjuna. So he says, this is a time for you to help your teacher. And Satyaki feels torn because Arjuna, before going, has told him to stay by Yudhishthir's side and try and protect him. He knows that still the plan of the Kauravas is there that they want to arrest Yudhishthir. So while he is focused on trying to get to Jayadratha, they might spring surprise attack. She says, I've been told to stay by your side. He says, Bhima is also there. He says, Bhima is here. All the other warriors, they will protect me. He says, you are needed much more over there. And Bhima also assures him. And then Satyaki races him. And Arjuna has created a trail of devastation. Satyaki keeps following him. And as he's following him, Satyaki calls out. And Arjuna sees Satyaki and they come close to each other. He says, it is wonderful that you, Arjuna says, that you came all the way to here, breaking through the enemy ranks. And he says, help me today in this mission. And then Satyaki starts helping Arjuna in trying to get rid of some of the enemies. There are too many enemies attacking him. And then after Satyaki goes in, Yudhishthira becomes further apprehensive. He says, Satyaki is also quite young. He says, Satyaki may also get trapped. Instead of helping Arjuna, he may get trapped. So he looks around. There is one person bursting for action. Who is that? Bhima. So he says, can you go in and help them? He says, I was waiting when I would tell me. Bhima charges him. And Bhima reaches Arjuna and half the time it takes Satyaki because most people seeing Bhima, they don't even fight with this run away. And then when Arjuna sees Bhima right next to him, and he says that, now that both you and Satyaki are here, you are here, I feel my victory is assured. And then at that time Karna comes forward. And Karna challenges Arjuna. But when they are about to fight, Bhima challenges Karna. And then Arjuna knows that a heavy burden is placed on Bhima. But Arjuna moves forward. And now Bhima and Karna have multiple encounters. There are two occasions when Bhima gets the upper hand on Karna, and there one occasion when Karna has the opportunity. We'll talk about in the 17th day, 16th or 17 days, when Karna has the opportunity to kill Bhima, but he does not. Now in this case, Bhima matches Karna arrow for arrow. And Karna is completely caught in fighting with Bhima. And Arjuna can go free forward. Now as Arjuna is going forward, relentlessly mowing down all the enemies, Duryodhana is watching with increasing disbelief and horror. What he thought would be certain victory for him is going to be about his most devastating defeat. And then those words of Bhishma start coming into his mind again. He says, how is it possible that one warrior can destroy my entire army? It's just not possible. He says, maybe Krishna is really God. But one part of him says that thing, but the attachments in him is also no. He says, if Krishna were God, then Abhimanyu. Now, Arjuna is very dear to Krishna, and Abhimanyu was dear to both Krishna and Arjuna. If Krishna were God, then he would never have let Abhimanyu be killed. And because Abhimanyu is killed, therefore Krishna cannot be God. So, in this world, the nature of the world is, if somebody wants to be a theist, there is enough evidence in the world to infer that from the organization, the exclusiveness of the world, there is enough evidence to infer the existence of God. But if somebody wants to be an atheist, they can come to that conclusion also. Like we often talk about design, how rainfall comes. That say the clouds are formed. And the clouds are like a mobile, airborne, airproof water tanker. It's not the aircraft-proof water tanker. It's a miracle of nature. And that's how all the living beings that live on the land get water. We can talk about this, and the atheists will say, if the whole mechanism of rains is designed to give water to us, on the land. And why does it rain on the oceans? There's no water over there. So why does it rain on the oceans? So that atheists can ask the question and stay atheists. You can have 1,000. Suppose there's a palace with 100 rooms, and 99 rooms are very orderly, and one room is disorderly. Then you can look at the 99 rooms that are orderly and say there must be some caretaker over here. Or you can look at the one room that is disorderly and there is no caretaker over here. So the evidence of nature can be used to justify atheism if somebody wants to do that. So that is what Duryodhana does over here. He says, yes, therefore Krishna cannot be God. We come to kill Abhimanyu, we will kill Arjuna also. So then he says, Arjuna is coming dangerously close to Jayadratha, and he says, we will use a last effort. And he says, previously we had 6 warriors stopping Arjuna, so Arjuna's son. Now we'll have 8 warriors stopping Arjuna. And he orders Drona and Kripa to come from the front. He orders Karna and Ashwathama to come from one side. He orders Shalya and Krutavarman to attack him from the other side. And he and Dushasan attack Arjuna from behind. He doesn't have the courage to face Arjuna from the front now, after he's been injured. So, Arjuna can see Jayadratha's standard, and he can see the sun sinking in the horizon, and he's charging towards him. Jayadratha, suddenly, a heavy rainfall of arrows comes on him. He can't even see around. Arjuna is just whirling around in his chariot. His bow seems to be stretched almost a circle. He's shooting arrows in all directions just to hold off the sheer onslaught of arrows on him. So Arjuna starts despairing. He's so close and yet so far. Krishna sees Arjuna's predicament. And then Krishna summons the Sudarshan Chakra. He calls it and then he dispatches it to cover the sun. Now, some people say that a solar eclipse occurred at that time. Whichever explanation we take, natural or supernatural. The point that happens is that the sun seems to have set. Suddenly darkness spreads all over. And the Kauravas start celebrating. Jayadratha has been hiding behind many warriors until now. And he comes out, he starts walking. You are going to kill me? Should I light your funeral pyre now? So Arjuna in dejection starts putting his bow down. And Krishna speaks to Arjuna in Arjuna voice without even looking back. He says, Arjuna, there is time still. He says, put the Brahmastra on your bow. Now Arjuna has questions. Some has said, he says, there is a time for questions and it is not now. So he puts the Brahmastra. And Krishna warns him further. He says that hit Jayadratha's head in such a way that his head is carried all the way to Simant Pancha, which is nearby. And there is his father, Vrudakshetra. Vrudakshetra has known that his son will get into trouble. So he has also done some meditation and he's got a vow, got a blessing that whoever causes his son's head to fall on the ground, that person's head will split up. So now Krishna tells Arjuna that let Jayadratha's head go and fall on Vrudakshetra's lap. So now Arjuna takes the bow and places the arrow on the bow. And then at that very moment, Krishna removes the chakra. And Krishna tells Arjuna, there is the sun and there is Jayadratha. Shoot! And Arjuna picks up the arrow and shoots it. And Jayadratha's mouth is open for laughing. And from laughing, it becomes shock. From shock becomes fear. Shock becomes terror. He tries to reach his sword, but the arrow comes so far, right in front of all the Kaurava warriors' eyes. Arjuna's arrow just pierces Jayadratha's head, and his head is carried far into the sky. Jayadratha's body falls on the ground headless, and his head goes all the way to the nakshatra, and he's sitting in meditation. And suddenly he feels something fall on his lap. He looks, it's a bloody head. What is this? He just knocks it off the ground and gets up. As soon as he knocks it off his lap, head falls on the ground, and his own head bursts apart. In this way, Krishna protects Arjuna not only from the danger of not being able to reach Jayadratha, but also from in life there are dangers that we know and there are dangers that we don't know. So Krishna protects us not only from the dangers that we know, but also the dangers that we don't know. And as Jayadratha's body falls, the Kauravas start lamenting, and Krishna and Arjuna embrace each other. And Bhima and Satyaki are behind. Bhima is blowing his conch. This has turned out to be the greatest victory for the Pandavas. From the Kaurava perspective, it was utterly morale shattering. The optics of the victory was that the previous day they had to use unethical means to kill one warrior. And today, the entire army could not stop one warrior from reaching and killing another warrior. They cannot even stop one warrior. How can they fight against the entire army? So, after this victory, the morale of the Kaurava armed force was shattered. And this happened in the 14th evening, and in the 4 days the war ended. So, the key thing is the Pandavas, and especially Arjuna, suffers a severe setback, an immensely painful loss on one day. But he does not let that divert him or discourage him from his purpose. And when there is a big loss, we can know that Krishna is preparing us for a far bigger victory. So Arjuna maintains his faith and his determination. And we can pray that Krishna give us also that similar faith and determination. When we face losses, Krishna does not tell Arjuna that you will never have any problems in life. He says, Machittaha sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi. He says, you will pass over all obstacles by my grace. Obstacles will come. But when we face one setback, Krishna is preparing us for a far greater victory. And that is the faith that we can have from this very, very dramatic and traumatic to some extent. Traumatic and then traumatic interaction incident that happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So I'll summarize. Today we discussed about, mainly we started about 3 things we discussed. One was about right and action. We can evaluate them based on morality and functionality. So sometimes some actions being functionally wrong, that means that it is not necessarily moral damage, it is just the wrong decision. Wrong decisions can be because of in terms of consequence. If they are wrong, then we just need to let go. Don't hold it against the person, because sometimes the results turn out to be wrong and nobody could have predicted that particular result. Now, sometimes it may be because of competence, and then we need to make changes. That means that maybe this person should not be the leader of this particular area. But if it's because of character, then we may have to let go of that person only. You have to let go of the event. Sometimes bad things happen. So we discussed the whole incident about first Abhimanyu's heroism and his death. So it was strategically, it was not so much death as a martyrdom. That his death was not because the strategy was wrong, but because there was an unexpected factor. So then what did Arjuna do? Arjuna focused on an actionable cause of that particular tragedy that befell him. And that actionable cause means that he decided to target Jayadratha. And through that, the last day we saw that Krishna guided Arjuna throughout. Krishna was in more anxiety than Arjuna, but Krishna guided Arjuna. So what could have caused a rift between Arjuna and Yudhishthir, Arjuna and the Pandavas, Arjuna and Krishna, that actually brought all of them together. Because they focused on a cause that they could all act towards together. And in this particular incident, what we say is Krishna's protection comes at multiple levels. This is when some target is unreachable. Now Krishna intervenes. When some danger is invisible, Krishna is also protecting us from that danger. So unreachable goal might be there, from an invisible danger might be there. And Krishna's protection is that one failure can often be preparing us for a bigger success. So when this pastime illustrates many things, but one thing that illustrates is that when we do all we can, Krishna does what we can't. When Arjuna had done all he could to reach Jayadratha, and if he couldn't, then Krishna intervened. And Krishna did what Arjuna could not. So let us all pray that through these dramatic pastimes, our faith in Krishna increase, and that even if we face setbacks, that we may have the faith and determination to be wholehearted in our endeavors, and have the confidence that Krishna will guide us to a bigger and better place through the adversities that we are going through right now. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki Jai. Chakravyuha ki Jai. I go Abhimanyu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Every day of Kurukshetra is becoming even more intense. Can you all give some words?
Yes. We are also watching Kurukshetra.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you are an amazing storyteller. Really, you know, like the whole script, everything.
You can see the picture.
See, this is the difference between a devotee telling Mahabharata and some. Really,
Rajamouli is planning to
we have a contact of Rajamouli.
Yes.
We're going to send this lecture to him. Right? And we'll challenge him of his imagination. Bahubali to Hare Krishna. So, it's very, this is arranged by Krishna, as you all can feel, right? And personally, it was I told in the beginning, that was my dream that Prabhuji should come. I should witness, that was my dream. When I used to see Prabhuji's lectures 15 years ago, and I was like, when will I sit in Prabhuji's lecture and hear some series or anything like that? And now Prabhuji is right here, few feet away, and Prabhuji is doing these sessions day after day. And Prabhuji is extending himself. And one of the things Prabhuji told me, which I want to share with all of you, is he is liking the attention of the audience. Which means, he is going to extend more and more because
Is that a promise or a threat?
it is an actionable cause. That's my takeaway. Actionable cause. And so if there is a Kumbh Mela happening there, purifying the body, here is a Mela that is purifying the soul. Then, and how many were waiting for Krishna to enter the next day? You know, when all this happened, right? Like when Arjuna starts and then amazing, Prabhu, the punchline in filmy language is a punchline. When you said, when Dronacharya, he said, Arjuna is not alone, right? That was like this, like big underline, you know, that cinematic, you know, that line, Arjuna is not alone. Yeah.
The cinematic part was when Krishna takes Arjuna, you said by the left.
My side hug,
You
yeah.
can actually see Krishna hugging Arjuna and
In
saying
the
that
hall, we are
nice
seeing
thing.
that in the hall.
Yeah, in the hall, right? I mean, my God. And the most faith-giving statement among many statements he gave today is given by Arjuna when he tells, you know my strength, but I know. I mean, I would want to keep that somewhere and say, we know Krishna's strength. Prabhupada has told it so many times. Krishna has told it, I am the strength in everything, I am the best in everything. Whole chapter is dedicated to that. Hare Krishna, this is a celebration of our spiritual life, Prabhuji. The celebration of our spiritual life that we are having you here. And we're getting an opportunity to host you here. Though we feel so fortunate, I was going with my wife, the other day after the lecture on the road, and I was driving back, and then I saw many bikes going by left and right, and some Benz car, this car, that car, all brands cars going. And I just looked at my wife and said, how unfortunate these people are. How unfortunate these people are that none of them got an opportunity to attend today's class. Isn't it? I mean, that is the most saddest part of our spirituality is when we see unfortunate people. I called somebody today and he said he's taking his wife to Ramoji city so he cannot come here. All glories to your decision if you're watching it on YouTube. Hare Krishna, I mean, like, how can you make the decision to be at the right place at the right moment? And how can you miss the presence of Krishna in Mahabharata? What our Mahabharata TV serials cannot show, Prabhu, you are showing us from the vision of Prabhupada, from the vision of a devotee, from the vision of scriptures. This is truly Shastra Chakshu. You know, we are seeing it from the vision. And less can be said that, you know, Prabhuji should continue this. I wish now, why it is not 18 days of 18 So we'll ask Dasraj Prabhu to cancel Prabhuji's ticket. No, that's not the point. But what Prabhuji has done is that he himself has told that, you know, I think I need little more time to do justice to this kind of a topic, this kind of a series. So Prabhuji has asked for the Sunday feast. Now, next Sunday feast also Prabhuji is going to speak, right? Yeah, very good. So maybe we'll start the Sunday feast a little early.